Hi my friend, in this video we're going to be making laid-back tech house synths and vocals inspired by Deltech's song, I Don't Need That. We're going to find out if we can do this in under 2 hours by using the 80-20 rule of tech house synths and vocal production. What you're listening to right now is a song we'll be working on. And what you're looking at right now is the Ableton project file that we'll be working on. In particular, we're going to focus on this melodic group here, so we can go over all the synths and really mostly the vocals in this one, so you can follow along step by step and build something out similar with your own music. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video because we'll be doing a full recap of the 80-20 rule, so you can apply everything that you're learning here to your own music. Because all in all, it only took about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours for me to get the vocals and the synths right in this one. And if we zoom out here and have a look, you can see it's completely mixed, mastered, arranged, and ready to go. And it only took me about 5 hours to complete this, and now it's ready to be spun in DJ sets or sent out to labels. And if you'd like help finishing songs fast just like this, I've also made you a completely free bundle of templates, samples, and special bonuses that I use to completely finish a song like this every single week. Just visit the link that's on screen now or in the description to grab your copy of the Ultimate Song Finishing Toolkit for free. And if you want to take things to the next level, you can also find a link to this video's project files in the description as well. With that said, let's jump into this. Alright. So when it comes to the synths for this one, there's a couple of little things I want to show you that I've been kind of changing in my workflow in the last little bit. The first thing, one of the things I haven't really been changing is throwing the actual reference track that you want to build against in your track, turning it off, and setting up the S key or any key on your keyboard so you can flick between them. And what you have. Just like that. And what this does, it helps you be able to select the right kind of patterns, select the right sounds as you're building up the drums and the bass and the synths and all that. And then also, main thing is get the right volumes. That way you can make your track sound professional as you're building it out. When you're mixing as you go, setting the right volumes, that's really kind of the tricks to the 80-20 rule. If your volumes and your sound selection is similar to the tracks that you're building against, it's going to sound similar quality level and professional and all that kind of stuff. Nice little hack. That's something I always do. But the other thing that I've been doing the last little while is particularly if you're going to be building your track in a way that there's a particular hook, whether it's chords or some kind of melody, or in most examples, a vocal, bring that vocal into your project as quickly as possible and build against that as you're building out the drums and the bass and your melodic elements like synths and vocals. And this is going to be super important because I've been finding this to be true, and maybe you've seen this as well. If you build out your track in a kind of conventional way of drums, then bass, then synths, and then vocals, if you add vocals near the end, everything you've built could be so incompatible with the vocals that you have to go back and make so many changes, and it makes everything so frustrating and confusing. So having the vocals in as quickly as possible is a huge tip, I'd say, if you're working with a particular hook that you want to be building around. If you're, making it up as you go and all that, then it is what it is. But if you already know what your main hook is, it can make everything so much more helpful because you're building against that and make sure you can make everything kind of glue together in that kind of way. So one of the first things that I did add into this track was the vocal that I wanted to work on. And so you might be able to kind of see a little preview of it here, or you heard it already in the intro. But if you have listened to the vocals of the Deltech tune, oops. Something about the girl voice and the cadence of it reminded me of this. The reference? Kind of similar vibe. I don't know if you didn't pick up on that, so I was like, yo, this is fucking sick. I'm gonna fucking do a flip of like a G6 tune in a cool way. So that's kind of what I heard, and so I grabbed this vocal. In terms of finding it, you can see here, Far East Movement like a G6 acapella HD. Yeah, I grabbed it from YouTube. You can find all sorts of acapellas on there, and you can use things like Lala and Fader and all sorts of like AI splitters if you can't find an acapella, but you might be able to just find it somewhere on YouTube or something like that. So in this case, I just grabbed it from YouTube. Another thing that I've been doing for the last little bit is instead of building out the drums right away, what I've been doing is just snatching like a loop from the drums. So let me just show you this over here. And then let me just show you the intro to the Deltech song. Hear the bass in it, and then it's gone here. So what I did and what I've been doing a lot in the last little bit is like trying to get like an extended version of the track so that I can grab a spot where the drums are, and I knowing that I can emulate the drums later, which you've seen in like the drum section of this tutorial or the previous series. It's pretty easy to emulate the drums, so I'm finding it can be useful to snatch a part of the drums and then start building out like the bass and the vocals against that, knowing that you can super easily recreate the drums later. It just kind of saves some time and makes it so that you don't like build out all these drums and then start adding in the bass and notice that the bass isn't working and you have to like find a new reference track and you wasted a bunch of time. It can be a nice way to you can build out your track against just a loop that you've grabbed from the actual track and then go back later and recreate the drums. Just making sure that everything's working together for you like that. So let's go through the melodic elements here. So I'm going to put on the vocals for a little bit. I'm going to be turning them off for the most part so that, my voice isn't overlapping and it's kind of hard to understand what's going on. So I'll turn it on for a little bit and let's listen to it. I'm going to show you the processing. So the main thing here is in the Deltech tune, if you listen to it, there's almost like 2 sections. So I found something with 2 sections. There's like kind of like this part, like this main hook, and then this as well. And so when you find a vocal like that, where there's just like 1 or 2 sections as opposed to like a full verse and multiple verses and choruses, it makes it a little easier when you're jumping in and trying to like adjust the warp markers to make sure that your stuff's on time. So in this case, it was just these 2 sections. I jumped in, I added a few warp markers to make sure that it sounded like in time and good with the track. Switched it to Complex Pro and then adjusted the formants and envelope a little bit to kind of make it sound a little bit more natural. That's pretty much it there. And then in terms of processing, removing a bunch of the lows so it's making like the kick on the bass and not overly mudding up the low end. A little bit of weird things that I added in here. I have this crystallizer, and this is a little bit more of like an arrangement trick at certain points in the tune. If I show you this, you can see over here I had like, this is what it sounds like with the crystallizer. Listen to like the weird those little weird sounds. It's like a granular delay. I love that kind of stuff, and I use it to like throw it on sometimes to kind of fade it into the next track as almost like a transition kind of method. And I just love the sound of it. It's super interesting. Then other than that, we're just doing some one knob sidechain. So what I have set up here is an Ableton Shaper device going through that like LFO tool kind of shape, and it's going to quarter notes and just it's ducking the gain in this kind of shape and at this rate. The kick drum is usually at quarter notes, so by doing this method, you don't have to like route a compressor and adjust all the compressor settings on all that annoying stuff just to get like a simple kind of dance pump. You can just do it with one knob and move on. At certain points in the song, I added this shifter sound. Let me see when that comes on so I can just show you what that looks like. Again, this was like almost more of a, where is it here? This is almost more of like an arrangement trick. So if you listen to the vocal here for a bit, and then right here, it's adding that like little lower end bit. It's again more of an arrangement trick so that the vocal's looping a ton throughout this, and it's a way to make it sound a little bit more different, like something's changing and moving throughout the track. So that's kind of look at the vocals. Again, main thing is throwing that on as quickly as possible. The next kind of synth element that I added, I actually want to show you this bass, but I do go over this more in the bass section. But if we go over to the mid bass here, and I want to show you this particular automation with the pitch. So, okay, maybe a little bit hard to see here, but what I have is 2 versions of the bass. So if we listen to the bass around more of the intro, you can hear it. It's like that kind of organ sound. Then if you listen to it like midway through the song, so you can hear that in the Deltech song as well. So here's like more of the intro. It's more of like a bass bass guitar sound or like analog synth. And then midway through, it's almost like a cool little organ sound. And so the way I went about this is it's actually something I learned from that Wessel and whatever track. I did it a couple of weeks back. It might still be on the Deep Core Tops. But it's like that very classic organ sound. And so the way I've been about it is maybe a little bit different, but I made it so that that is the mid bass sound at the beginning. And then I just flip it up an octave. And then it ends up almost becoming more of like a synth sound. And it's just following the exact same kind of bass pattern, basically. So super simple stuff. You'll notice that in this track as well, there's not a lot of stuff going on. If you listen here, it's vocal, bass, drums, and that kind of like additional organ a little bit. And that's it. So what I did at this point was I added in a few extra little things, and I'll show you what I added to kind of fill the sound a little bit. I added this little weird thing. Let me show you it over here. Right here. It's very subtle, so let me solo it too. Weird little sound. I added a crystallizer, so it's adding some like of that, you know, that weird little crystal-y granular sound that I really like. Playing a lot with the EQ, removing a lot of the high end. Really trying to make this subtle. It's just adding a little bit of vibe to the track, because again, want to try to keep it to the original. Like there's not a lot of synths and extra stuff going on, so super subtle little bit of character to add there. Little one-off sidechain, a little bit of Ableton saturation. This is the Ableton saturator mapped to a one rack here, or one knob rack. Got a cat going here, nuts. Just makes things a little easier, so you can kind of mix with your ears and just as you go, instead of opening up plugins and stuff. Same thing here. There's a free plugin called Polyverse Wider. Just map the main knobs to an Ableton rack here, so that it kind of it's just faster to use, and it's really subtle. But it's using this to push things to the left and right, make it a bit more stereo, making stuff in the middle have its own space, and then that stutter effect using the A1 Trigger Gate, which is a free plugin again, kind of adding that cool stutter sound. And so it's very subtle mixed in there, if you can try to listen for it. Just adding a little bit of something extra there. And then what I also did add in was this additional synth here. If you listen to the reference, there's nothing like that. So this is just something that I like to do, is like try to follow the reference track at a certain point, and then at a certain point let your own track help guide you to make additional decisions. So you're making something a little bit more original and something that you can actually release as opposed to just a carbon copy. The way I went about this is you'll notice that it's this red color that I usually do my basses. So it's the exact same notes as the bass line. And what I've done though, and it's actually the same sound too, or is it a wah synth organ? The mid bass is a basic organ bass. So I think it's in the same, family almost. Got a needy cat here. So it's the same bass sound, and then it's the same bass pattern that's being played with a slightly different organ sound. So it's like in the same family of like organs. And what I've done is I just chucked an Ableton arpeggiator here, played around with the different like styles of arpeggiation, and then found something that kind of like makes it sound skippy and interesting. And if we also solo it against the bass, it's pretty cool, I think. And it's a nice way to make it so everything's similar, I guess. There's nothing too out of left field happening. I am playing with the filter cutoff, and the release and stuff has more of like little arrangement bits, so things are moving throughout the track. Moving some of the lows here so that it's not interfering with the kick or the bass or anything like that. We're going to get into a big part of it here in a second, but again, some one knob sidechain, so it's pumping. The width plugin, so it's adding some stereo and making room for stuff in the middle. And then a big thing here is I throw on that A1 Trigger Gate thing, which gives it that cool stuttery stutter house kind of thing. Yeah, that's kind of a look at all of that. We'll do a recap of the 80-20 rule so we can apply everything that you've been learning here to your own tracks when it comes to synths and vocals like that. But I also do want to mention before we do that, this video has been sponsored by our good friends over at Rocket Powered Sound. They hooked up in particular, if you listen to the kick drum that's being played in this track, it's a kick from their Ultimate Sample Pack, which is a sample pack filled with over 1,000 iconic and usable sounds. And if you want to grab that, you can get that for 30% off by using the link in the description and the code that's on screen now, Ultimate Best Friends. So yeah, big thank you to them for sponsoring the video and hooking up our community like that. And if you do grab the project files for this, you'll also get the Rocket Power Sound samples built into this as well. So really big thank you to them for hooking us up like that. And with that said, let's jump into the 80-20 rule for this one. Hi, my friend, Matt from Best Friends Club here. And if you've been paying attention, then you've probably figured out what the 80-20 rule is when it comes to creating melodic elements like synths and vocals for your music. The goal here is to get 80% of the result with only 20% of the time, energy, or effort. And because the first key to the 80-20 rule when building out your melodic elements is to use a reference track, we are making sure that we're effortlessly hitting 80% of a very professional benchmark. In particular, we use that reference track to focus on playing in the right key, following a similar rhythm, and selecting the right sounds. This just keeps things fast and focused. The second key is to mix as you go in an extremely streamlined way by only focusing on the volume of our sounds compared to the reference track, as well as using a simple repeatable channel strip for each track that we add to our songs. The third and final key is that you don't want to reinvent the wheel each and every time, so you should start a practice of repurposing your old project files by adding old project files, racks, and groups to your collections area in Ableton. By creating a suite of powerful templates, Ableton racks, and one-knob effects that you've personalized and curated over time, you'll be able to get a higher quality result faster. If you'd like to get a head start by downloading all the racks, templates, and all the files that you've seen me use in the Ableton project file for this video, or if you'd just like to take a closer look at any of the techniques or tracks you saw me work on in this video at your own pace, you can find a link to this video's project files on screen now and at the second link that's in the YouTube description. I'm recreating a different song from the Beatport top charts every single week and making the project files available to anyone who wants them. You'll also get access to a private Discord where you can ask me and the community questions, as well as share tracks for feedback. If you or your music are not quite ready for a shot in the arm like that, I've also made you a completely free bundle of templates, samples, and special bonuses that have helped me figure out how to completely finish one new song each and every single week. And you can grab that free Ultimate Song Finishing Toolkit by visiting the first link that's in the YouTube description here. However, if you just feel like staying on YouTube for now, that's totally fine. Save that link for later and check out this playlist of videos where I remake other melodic elements like synths and vocals from other songs in the Beatport top charts. Or if you want to take what you've learned in this video to the next level, check out this video right here.